All right, everybody. Let's, in just about a half a minute here, we're going to start again. This is being streamed live on Facebook and YouTube, and so we got a much larger audience than what's in this room. And with that, I think we're right on time. So I would like to introduce the next speaker. This gentleman I've known personally for numerous years. He's a friend. He's one of those in this industry that I have always felt got it, understands the customer, because that's the most important part of this whole thing. Those customers that are out there that have passion for the sport like he does and I do. So he's an accomplished angler who's fished professionally on the professional walleye trail. Now that dates him because that's been gone since 2008, although he is not that old. Well, compared to me anyway, he's getting pretty old. He's a senior fishing industry leader with 20 years of demonstrated results in revenue growth. Again, everything revolves around sales, profitability, and market share in this fishing industry. Specializes in building great teams, something that I truly believe in. Teams drive businesses. He's done a great job with that. And the real important part is great products that those teams develop and then you can go out and sell to the consumer. Products, you can have the best company structure in the world, and without good products, it's going to fail. He's got comprehensive business experience in sales management, financial analysis, new product development, product sourcing, digital marketing, grassroots marketing. He's done it all. He's also on our board of directors as of yesterday, and at some point in the not too distant future, he will be my replacement. So I would like to welcome Naig to the stage, and let's give him a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm thrilled and honored to be here talking with everybody. I'm an inaugural member of the NPAA. So back in, I don't even know what year it was, 1996. Gosh, I'm getting old. But I am an inaugural member, and I'm at the point in my career right now, which I'll kind of share with you that, are we having a problem here? Okay. I'll kind of share with you how my path from passion to profession happened. And then we'll kind of get into the meat of my presentation, which is how you can provide value to your tackle sponsors, because that's really my background throughout the industry is through fishing tackle, but it works for everything. You know, I see Rick over here. He'll agree with me on boats, engines, electronics, all of these things, even non-endemics, and hopefully it will help you as you take your path through the profession too. So fishing has kind of driven my life since I was, I don't know, 10 years old, I guess. I started fishing on the famous Palo Alto County Sportsman's Gravel Pit. Anybody ever been there? No. It was 4 miles from my house. Started riding my bike, got a moped, and I would spend hours and hours and hours there wanting to be a Hank Parker, wanting to be Bill Dance, wanting to be a fisherman. I wanted to be a professional fisherman. Well, I was also a big kid, so I wanted to be a professional football player too. So that kind of led me down the path to go to a university that had a lake by it. Played a little football there. Decided after a couple of years, fishing popped in my head again. So I started fishing. Well, then I'm like, well, what do I want to study in college? Well, I thought, yeah, banking sounds good because they work from 9 to 3, and then I can fish before work and after work. So I got a degree in finance. I don't know if I've used any of it. Then I went to work for a credit union. So that lasted about 18 months. Again, fishing was kind of getting in the way. I lost that job. First job I'd ever been fired from. And I'd had lots of jobs when I was growing up. I painted barns and grew up on a farm, so I was never afraid of work. And one day my boss lady came in and said, well, we don't need you anymore. And I'm like, ugh, what am I going to do? Newly married. My wife had a great job. And my wife has been my biggest sponsor and supporter throughout my whole career. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So we sat back and what are we going to do? My grandfather had passed away that little bit a year before that, and my wife and I decided to buy 10 acres of farm ground from my grandfather's estate, and we were going to build these hog buildings. So these big apartment houses for hogs, right? So my father and I built the hog buildings. Again, I had this plan that I wanted to go fishing. I wanted to be a professional fisherman. How am I going to finance this? What am I going to do? So we built the hog buildings, and I'm like, okay, let's try to get on the professional walleye trail as a co-angler. Well, I called up Mark Dorn. I don't know if anybody in here knows who Mark Dorn is or was, or he was the tournament director back then in the day. It was the In-Fisherman Professional Walleye Trail. So I call up Mark and I say, hey, I want to get in this Lake Erie tournament in April out in Put-in Bay. Can I sign up as a co-angler? Well, back at that time, there was way more co-anglers than there were professional anglers. So Mark says, well, do you have a boat? I said, yeah, I have a 16-foot Alumacraft with a 55-horse Suzuki on it. Oh, he says, yeah. Do you know how to troll? I'm like, well, yeah, this lake that I live by, Storm Lake, Iowa, we troll around it out in open water. And well, why don't you sign up as a pro? And I'm like, well, I thought about it. Okay. I'm 22 years old, maybe still 21, I don't know, 22 years old. And I became a professional angler because Mark Dorn needed more boats in a tournament on Put-in Bay. So I roll out to Ohio. It's the farthest I've ever driven in my life. From Cylinder, Iowa to Put-in Bay, Ohio, by myself. Never traveled anywhere. Never driven through Chicago. Never have done any of that before. But I wanted to be in the fishing business. I wanted to be a professional angler. So I roll out there. I put my boat on the ferry. They got this ferry, if you've never been there, that will take you from the mainland out to this island. I got my old Dodge pickup. Kind of smells like pigs. Old pickup camper on it that I bought for $500 because I was going to stay in that. Because like Justin, I was always cheap. I get on the ferry and I pull up next to this guy. He's got a boat. It's quite a bit nicer than mine, a little bigger. And his name is Brian Naig. Brian Naig, his family owned a resort on Lake of the Woods. The guy on the other side of me, he was a first-time fisherman too. The guy on the other side of me, he looked like, my age. That was Johnny Candle right next to me. He was a local guy. I kind of tried to befriend him so maybe he'd help me at this tournament or whatever. So my point there is I started those two relationships with those guys, and they've been my friends forever. I fished the tournament. There was no wind on Lake Erie for a week, 10 days, however long I was out there. Totally blessed. In my little 16-foot boat, I had to go like, I don't know, a mile and a half. There was hundreds of thousands of great big 8-pound walleyes, and I dragged a big Rapala around and finished 16th place. I'm like, well, this is going to be easy. Well, it wasn't. I kind of got beat up the rest of the year and the next year and the next year. So I did that for 11 years while financing it with my pig barn. But I fished, financing it with my pig barn, and my wife doing chores when I was on the road. So she would go out and play with the pigs when I was gone. Again, bless her heart. She'd be watching, and I'd say hi to her today, but she's ice fishing on Lake of the Woods with a bunch of lady friends. So I got her into the fishing part too. So I always enjoyed the business side of the sport. You know, I was fortunate to be 50 miles from Spirit Lake, Iowa, where Berkeley was at. I met a lot of those folks over the years. Still my mentors today were the people that I worked with there as a sponsored angler. There was a position that came open at Pure Fishing in Berkeley. I tried to get the job. They didn't want to give it to me. Actually gave it to my best friend, which was fine. I had a good in there. You know, my best buddy's running the department that picks pro staff, so it worked out good for me. Came up again, another job. Tried to get that at Berkeley. No, you don't have the right experience. You don't have the education or whatever it was. Can't get it. Third time, they finally gave up. My persistence worked, and they were able to find a position for me at Berkeley, and that's where I started on the business side. And I learned so much there. I owe those people at Pure Fishing so much. I mean, I went from being the grassroots marketers, pro staff manager. Kavaias was one of my top guys back in that day. We designed some really cool baits together that are still good today. And then I was able to get into communications, and then I went into product development. So I had such a broad experience there, and these are some of the things that I'm going to share with you when I get into the meat of the presentation. And then, you know, what things happen in our industry, right? Private equity came in, things started changing, and I had to make another decision about did I want to move to South Carolina and stay with Pure Fishing, or did I want to try to do something else? And again, fishing got in the way. I have a passion for northern Minnesota and northwest Ontario, and specifically Lake of the Woods. And I had an opportunity to move to Bemidji, Minnesota, which is an hour and a half from my favorite place to fish in the world. And so that's where I ended up, and that's where I am now. I spent 14 years at Northland Tackle. Again, I learned so much from those folks that I'm looking forward to sharing with you today. I did category management there, got into the sales side of the business with Northland, which was great. I learned a ton. Product development, marketing, you know, it's a small organization, so we were able to wear all hats at all times. I left there in March, and right now I'm doing some consulting work for a manufacturer in the Dominican Republic that is an OEM manufacturer, so the factory makes items for Northland Tackle, makes items for Bass Pro Shops. It's the manufacturer for a lot of brands that you guys love and know. So that has been my path to where I'm at, but I have been thinking about it, and fishing has taken me everywhere. And it's been a great full circle for me to come back to this organization. And I really want to give back as much as I can to the industry that's been so good to me. And my passion for the sport of fishing, from saltwater to ice fishing, and everything in between. I've been fortunate enough through my experience to do it all. You know, that was one of the great things about pure fishing. I got to meet guys like, you know, Cavias, Hank Parker, Bill Dance, Mike Iconelli, Gerald Swindle. I hired a lot of those guys. I had to fire a couple of them too, which kind of stinks. But I was able to, you know, to take that experience and bring it back full circle. And I'm excited about working with the NPAA, being on the board, and then helping grow this organization moving forward. I have one question for everybody in this room. When I was thinking about preparing for this presentation, I knew what I wanted to talk about from the fishing and the business side and the education side, but I started going through my phone and all my fish pictures. You know, I don't know, my phone is whatever, old, and so I went back 3 years, and I'm looking at the pictures, and I love to take people fishing. That's kind of what my passion is. Have you ever seen anybody catch a fish or reel one in that didn't smile? Show of hands? Anywhere? You can't see yourself, but I'm pretty sure every time I reel one in that I smile. And to me, that is the passion. That is, you know, these are just random photos off of my phone. That's my little niece there. That's her first smallmouth bass. She caught that a couple years ago. I can't remember a lot of things, but I can remember every fish I think that I've caught in every technique, or maybe not every technique, but every spot. And my brain just works. Again, passion for fishing. The young lady in the middle there, that's my nephew's girlfriend. AA, I call her, because I can't pronounce her first name. She had a day with me in the boat. I took her fishing last summer. She had a day with me in the boat, and she caught a 48-inch muskie and a 28-inch walleye in the same day. You think she's hooked on fishing? I mean, look at that smile. And I'm just going to blow through this. But again, this is really what I love about fishing. This is my big old brother-in-law, who's one of my big partners. Another niece there that I've been able to take fishing. Farmer buddies, my lovely bride on the right, a couple friends of mine from Canada, a co-worker are in these photos. My favorite fishing partner probably ever is my dog Emma. She's watching me bobber fish right there. She watches the bobber goes down, I reel in the fish, and she jumps in and retrieves it for me. So, but again, the reason I just put these on here is, look at this is my beautiful daughter here, with the big muskie. The reason I put these on there is, you know, just to ground us on why we love the sport, where the passion comes from, and it is a business, and we're going to talk about that. But think about it the next time you're fishing, and you're reeling one in, or look at your partner, and I can almost guarantee when you take the picture, they're going to smile. My buddy Gussie, that was the year before he won the Bassmaster Classic, so that was kind of fun. Maybe it was afterwards. I don't know. We fished together quite often. My daughter down there in the corner, or in the middle with that bass. Another awesome story. She was playing softball for the university, or St. Cloud State University in Florida, in Orlando area. And again, I met some people through my fishing career that could get us on Disney to go fishing. She caught that fish underneath the dock looking at Disney World. 8-pound bass. It was fun. Just some other things in there. You notice I have lots of pictures of girls and women, my favorite fishing partners, just because they show their passion a little bit more than men sometimes, because we get kind of big and burly, but Just some more. I love to fish, as you can see. My attorney niece there's in the middle, the big walleye. A sales rep that I had at Northland, that his whole goal for the week that he spent with me was to catch a muskie on a fly rod. He caught one, and we celebrated like you can't believe, hugs, holding the fish above his head. This was like the tamest photo that I could find of him. So, and my sister-in-law that is down there in the white tank top, she's always complains, why aren't we catching any Eric? But so, kind of like I said, what I wanted to really talk about today was how as a sponsored angler that you can provide value to your partners, and it is really a partnership. And I don't know, is Justin in here? Did he might take off? Well, he's hired because his presentation is going to dovetail what I've found throughout my 20 years of working with sponsored anglers, almost to a T. And that really made me feel good, because I know Berkeley is one of his, Pure Fishing, Berkeley is one of his big partners. And I felt like, hey, when I was there, maybe what I laid, maybe there's some of that groundwork that I laid, maybe there's a little bit of a legacy behind what we did when I was there, because he hit a lot of key points that I will talk about through the presentation as well. So how do you drive sales? We're going to talk about being yourself. We're going to talk about communication with the stakeholders, and stakeholders can be many, many different things throughout a fishing organization, fishing tackle organization. Product development, that's been a passion of mine ever since I started. I love building new lures and finding new ways to catch fish, finding, how I can fool that fish and get that next bite. Alignment of the company that you're working with's priorities, and those change on usually an annual basis. Being involved in the industry. Everybody that's in this room, you're making a great first step. That is, you're going to, this will reap benefits for you year after year after year. And then probably from a manufacturer's perspective is to sell, and promote. So these are the things that we're going to run through. It's really interesting with all of the folks that I've met on the sponsorship side of the desk, how different they are, particularly if they are a high-level pro staff and a really good promoter. They're always themselves. If you fake it, you're never going to make it. You can't, because you are who you are, and and you can change and you can grow, but what's in your heart and who you are is who you are. So you really want to try to look inside yourself and figure out what your brand is. For me, when I was a sponsored angler, my brand was I was the neighbor boy. That's what they would call me. I ran with like a couple hoodlums and a crazy guy, a young guy, but I was that was my persona. I tried to be liked by people, be honest, be respectful. That's who I am. One of my favorite anglers that I've ever sponsored is Mike Iaconelli. I've never seen, when we were in Spirit Lake at Berkeley, I would always invite the pro staff that would come in to visit. I would always invite them over to the house because, they're traveling all the time. My wife's a great cook. We would feed them and hang out and maybe go fish off the dock or whatever. Out of all the people that I ever brought to the house, my kids loved Mike Iaconelli the best. that told me a lot about Mike, and that was back in the day where there was some, I was with him when he kicked the light pole at the Classic, and there was some, kind of tough things happening in his career right then, but he always had time for his fans. So that was Mike. That's who he was. He was highly passionate. I mean, just ate up with it. And then, another guy that was always himself would be Al Linder. He's the same guy when you get him in the boat as he was standing up here, as he's, giving a sermon at his church. So, be yourself. Build your own brand. And that will reap benefits throughout your whole career. Create your support team. Again, I talked a little bit about my support team. It's just so important through your journey. So it can be family, it can be friends. For me, it was my wife. Your peer group is extremely important for your support team. Run your ideas off of your partners, and then use that to, multiply your strengths and work on your weaknesses. So that's really what your support team. Mentorship, I think, in our industry, and that's one of the key things that I love about this organization, is find a mentor. Ask them questions. I have business mentors. Den Stalk at Pure Fishing taught me so much about how to run a tackle business, how to run, a brand. That's really a key thing. To reach out to people, and this organization is a great way to find a mentor, because everybody here wants to help everybody else. It's okay to get skunked. Took me 3 tries, right, to get into the fishing industry, but I kept going back and casting and casting and casting, and I finally caught it. And you need to learn. If you learn from your mistakes, and the last point on the slide here is, I use this all the time. It's make it better next time, and that works throughout the whole process. So learn from the mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail or get skunked, and make it better next time. And that's been really beneficial for me throughout my career and through my life. Communication, boy, this has changed over, especially over the last 5 years. Communication with your key stakeholders at wherever sponsored partner that you're talking about is important. It's just so much different now than it used to be. Our attention span, and my wife is in the healthcare profession, and so she studies a lot of things pertaining to how the body moves. And our attention span in the last 5 years has gone from, I think it's 12 seconds down to 6. And it's because of our phones. It's because of all the information that we can get really quickly. So you need to find a way to communicate with your stakeholders in your partnership the best way you can. And there's just so many different ways. So the younger people, they might like you to text them. Some guys want to talk on the phone for a half hour. That is a key part of talking to your key stakeholder at whatever company you're talking about. You do your research too. You need to find your key contact. You need to find your champion inside the organization, because that pays so many dividends over the years. And then you need to back that up, because you don't know when that guy's going to leave. So find your champion, find his backup, and then try to find somebody at the top too. And if you have that, and you have that communication, open communication with your sponsors, with your partners, that'll save you during budget cuts. It'll save you during, times when business is down, because everybody's going to remember you. If you just deal with, if you're just dealing with the one person, and that person leaves or does whatever, and you don't have those other backups throughout the organization and had communications with them, when he leaves, sometimes you have to leave with them. Or she leaves, sometimes you have to leave with them. So that's what I mean by be aware of the food chain. The other piece of advice I can give you is, and this has happened to me in my career, and it rubbed me the wrong way, but don't go over the top of somebody in the fishing tackle business, because you're gonna it just doesn't work, because then you're gonna create angst and anxiety in between the organization. How much do you need to talk to your stakeholders? I would recommend talking to them as much as they let you. They're all busy. Everybody's got a full-time job in that organization. But talk to them as much as you can, and make a point to get face-to-face with them at least once or twice a year. It's so important to sit down and have dinner, or just come to the office and sit down with them and visit. Learn a little bit about their family. Learn some things about the organization that you didn't know. It really helps with the relationship moving forward. Part of the whole communication is the point that I have there for delivering the deliverables. And when I first started as a pro staff manager, grassroots manager, I didn't do a really good job of letting anglers, the sponsored anglers know what our expectation was. We would have a contract, worked a lot on those contracts, but learning, knowing what those expectations are key. And then, just like Justin said an hour ago, deliver the deliverables, and always, if you can, always deliver more than you promised, because that will, again, that's just a thing that will reap you benefits throughout your career and throughout who you're working with. I think I want to run the video now, please. So this tells you a little bit, this video to show us a little bit about what, when I talk about fishing tackle, what I'm talking about. So what I'm just trying to show you here is we're going to get into the next slide on product development in the fishing tackle business. I'm sure like Rick's, his product development's, involves more engineers, or it's different, but it's probably the same to bring new ideas. But this is our hype video for Medalist Tackle, or Tall Pines Tackle is a company that I do some consulting with. And so I just wanted to show you from a tackle manufacturer, like the steps that it takes to make a jig, or to make soft plastics, or all of the investment, all of the materials that are used. It's really fascinating to me, and I really appreciated what Justin said about product development and working with your tackle sponsors, because as manufacturers, as the people that build the product and market the product, we don't know what you expert anglers know. We know how to build it. We can build the skirt machine here. He's making skirts in that picture right there. We know how to build the machinery. We know how to build the product. A lot of times we don't know why. And many tackle organizations are filled with great anglers, and that's a benefit, but some aren't. Some don't have the expertise and knowledge of the fishery, of what's working, what's not working, how can we make it better. So it's important. I thought it was important to kind of see the process from start to finish with how a product is built. And if you ever get the opportunity with your partner to see a factory, now there's not a whole lot of factories left in the U.S. for tackle, but if you ever have the opportunity, you should go see it, because it's a fascinating way that fishing tackle is built. So this particular factory is in the Dominican Republic, and then the warehouse is here in Punta Gorda, Florida. And what happens is the materials get shipped from Punta Gorda to the factory, like lead and paint and things like that, and then in a container, and then the container comes back to Miami to Punta Gorda, and it gets shipped out, distributed throughout throughout North America. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I thought it was interesting just to see how that whole process works. But as far as new product development goes, I think a few keys is understand your company's timelines, and what MGPP stands for is their multi-generational product plan. So every company that comes out with new product every year, they always have a plan for that, and normally there's 2 years behind it as well. So they're going to come out with a line of, let's say they're coming out with a line of a new crankbait or a new jig. There's always a plan behind it for the people that are good at product development. So understand those timelines and the process that it has to go through. It takes 18 months. Some people are shorter, but at least 18 months to bring an idea to market. It's usually 2 years. So, so you got to think about that. The pro staff role in product development, in my mind, has always been a couple things. One is to lend credibility to the product that they help design. And number two is to make sure that the product is going to catch fish. That's why I really enjoyed Justin talking about he feels like a product isn't top line until it wins a tournament. maybe, you know, maybe I'm a guide in, you know, saltwater, and I don't think it's a good product until it outfishes a live shrimp. You know, so the partners they need that feedback. It helps them not make mistakes. And mistakes are very expensive in product development. You know, it's usually, from a tackle company, normally there's like 1 or 2 hero baits per year that all of the marketing will go behind, and then there's some follow-up baits. So if there's let's say a customer comes to Northland Tackle where I was at and says, "Hey, Northland Tackle, I would like you to build a lake trout tube." Okay, we'll build a lake trout tube. It's pretty simple. We know exactly what they want. We'll build that. We don't need a lot of pro staff in that because it's a customer asking us, specifying exactly what they want. So that's one product. It wouldn't get the horsepower of a sponsored angler behind it. It just gets placed and then it sells. It goes through its life cycle and then it gets replaced by something else. But the heroes are where all of you anglers can help. All of you sponsored anglers can help with ideas. And, you know, in my career, I was fortunate enough to be involved in Gulp, that launch, Fireline, that launch, Flicker Shad with the help of Parsons and Cavallas and all of the walleye guys up there. But I've been doing this for 20 years, and I can only think of 3 things that like really, really changed the industry. So a lot of it is promotion and marketing to drive those sales to the companies or to the consumers. I think it's really important to give honest feedback, be respectful, but if it doesn't work, tell the product manager or your contact that, you know, it doesn't work, but also give them some ideas on how you think it can work. And you're going to get people that, you know, don't take your advice, but that's fine. At least you were honest with them and gave them the feedback. Provide solutions, that's what I'm saying. One of my pet peeves is, you know, is people that, and I always try to coach my teams up is, I love for you to bring me problems, right? Because I can help with that. But don't just throw me the problem, throw the turd over the fence. Bring me a solution. You know, bring me the scooper so I can pick it up. Don't just throw it over the fence. So problems are going to happen every day, but to your best of your ability, provide your solution. This next one about not keeping your secrets to yourself is difficult because, you know, as Justin Lucas is standing up here as a tournament angler, wanting to win every weekend, he wants to keep what he's winning on a secret. And I don't blame those guys at all. I mean, that's how they make a living is coming up with new techniques, learning what is working that is different than everybody else. It's changed a bit now with live coverage that we're watching all of the bass and some of the walleye tournaments. It's changed a bit, but it's okay to keep them to yourself for a bit of a time, but share that with your partners because that might be the next, might be the next Senko, might be the next Gulp, might be the new next technique. And I think techniques, and I think different techniques are key because let's take for example that you have a soft plastic that's a minnow shape, right? What do you do with that? You use it on a jig head, you use it on a drop shot. But if you have a new rig and you take that to the manufacturers, they can create a story around it. So bring the techniques, especially the cutting edge techniques to these manufacturers. Even if it's not the idea, not if it's not a new widget, bring them a technique. Because a really good company and a bunch of good marketers could take that technique and revitalize a gulp minnow or whatever it may be, just because of the techniques. So share the techniques, don't keep secrets, and let them know what's going on competitively. You know, if there's something out there that is in a manufacturer's, you know, a category, you know, if it's a new fishing line, a new rod and reel, a new bait that you hear a lot of buzz about, let your partners know. They want to know that. You have way more knowledge of what's going on the water, locally, regionally, than they could ever do, because they're busy working. You're busy fishing, and they're busy in the office working. So be their eyes and their ears for new techniques and what's really going on in the competitive landscape. Like I said, one of the keys that I see for sponsored anglers, two things, is credibility of the product and then testing, field testing. So normally a manufacturer is under a tight deadline. They don't plan ahead. We didn't get our samples in time. We got samples, but they were wrong colors. There's all kinds of variables. So we're usually always in a hurry, right? And my job was always to have a plan and have enough time that we could not have to be in a hurry. So, because when you're in a hurry, you make mistakes. Made one the other day. Sent a package off to a vendor, or packaging thing off to a vendor, and sent him the wrong packaging, and because I was in a hurry. So he sent me back exactly what I asked for. It was wrong, but if I would have had more time and we'd have planned a little bit differently, that wouldn't have happened. So, but for field testing, if your product manager or your key contact there sends you something and asks you to field test it, or calls you and says, hey, can you field test this for me? If you can, it's okay to tell him no. I can't. I'm going on vacation, or I have to, you know, I have to work this week. I can't. I'm not going to be able to get on the water. But if they do send it to you, get on it as quickly as you can and get them the information back as quickly as you can, because then they can, you know, because you're likely not the only one that got it. And then be detailed. You know, let them know, again, let them know what you liked, let them know what you didn't like. And I'm telling you, folks, that is one of the best ways. If you can help tackle companies come up with new ideas, help them test them, and it works, I mean, that's huge. You kind of just got yourself a partner for a long, long time. And I know that was one of the things that Justin Lucas did with Berkeley. He helped create a product that, you know, sells today. He helped promote the flatworm, which was something that I was fortunate enough to be started on. And then confidentiality, always important. You know, important throughout your whole business model. You know, you don't share. There's some things you just don't share with people, and the new products are kind of one of them until it's time. So that's the new product development piece of the puzzle. So we're all marketers here, and you are on the marketing team if you're a sponsored angler. You're a line item in the budget. So you want to know as much as you can about what their plans are and how they do things as you can, because then you can deliver the deliverables. You can deliver more than you promised. So first of all, understand their priorities, and these have changed. You know, is it social media? Is it winning tournaments? Is it taking people fishing as a captain or a guide? You know, understand what they want in their marketing side of the business. Extremely important. And then how do you fit in? So if their big priority is social media and you don't do social media and you're a sponsored angler for them, that's okay. How do you fit in? What can you do? Do you want to do, if you don't want to do social media, that's okay too. Can you find a spot? Can you do something else that they have in their priority list? Understand their marketing channels, you know, and these change every day, but social, print, TV, you know, just understand what's important to them on their channels. Share your ideas. Marketers are just like the product development guys. They love ideas. And don't be afraid to get skunked on your ideas. Keep sending them ideas. One of these days, you know, whiz bang thing. I got a quick story. I had an idea when I first started as a sponsored angler, trying to figure out a way that I didn't have to stay in that stinky truck anymore. I could buy myself a new truck. But I had an idea that I was going to loan rods out at PWT tournaments. So I went to the brand manager at Fenwick and said, "Hey, I got this idea." He didn't really think too much of it. So I still thought it was a good idea. So he left. That brand manager left, and a new guy came in. And so I was talking to him one day, and I said, "Hey, I told this old guy about this idea." Well, he loved the idea. So I would carry rods around in Fenwick rods, and I'd loan them out to co-anglers and pros, and I still have some of those in my garage. Synergies with your other partners. And this is kind of, you know, my background is in fishing tackle, rods and reels, things like that. But your other partners can be tourism boards. They can be your boat and engine company. The synergies that you can create together with them. So let's say that, you know, Mercury calls you up and wants you to be in the photo shoot, right? Well, make sure that you got, you know, and you're sponsored by Northland Tackle or DOA or whoever it is, Berkeley. Make sure you got some, you know, stuff laying out, some Berkeley stuff laying out during the photo shoot. If they want to cut it, they can, but, you know, think that way. Always try to find synergies. Match them up. A really cool promotion that I did a number of years ago was with a boat company in the north called Lund Boats, and we provided a $500 gift certificate to every person that bought a new Lund boat full of Northland tackle. So we figured if they're running a Lund, they're probably going to fish in the north, and so they would get a gift card, and they could come to our website and buy $500 worth of stuff. It was a great cross promotion for us. It drove a lot of traffic to our website. That was one of our priorities. So, you know, ideas like that are key to these marketers. What are you doing for time? I haven't wore a watch since like, I'm sorry. All right. Then I'm going to keep rolling. Be visible in the industry. We talked about this a little bit because I want to make sure I get to this point, Pat, and I'll wrap it up in 2 minutes. Always remember it's a business. We'd love it not to be because we love fishing, but it is a business, and whoever sells the most, they kind of win. So however you can help them do that, get to know their processes, get to know their channels, meet the sales rep on a local level. If you're working with a tackle company and you don't know your local sales rep in the hometown that you live in or the area you live on, shame on you. That can be your number one ally with a tackle company. Start locally, grow regionally, and someday you'll become nationally. I got time for one question. Mr. Pierce. The question is, have I had regrets in the industry? And the biggest regrets that I had were when my kids were between 2 and 5 years old. It's missing family. I was in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. My wife sent me on the trip. She told me to go fish the tournament. I get there. I get the call. She goes in labor. I turn around and drive, and this is like 12-hour drive from Cylinder, Iowa. So I turn around, I drive back home. I missed my son's birth by about an hour and a half. But I would have to say for me, that's the biggest regret, because I've tried to live my life and have my career by not burning any bridges. So I don't have any professional regrets. Maybe some, maybe should I have left this position to do that position, that type of thing. But I think that's all part of growth. But that's my biggest regret, Rick, is time away, traveling. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to be around. Please give me ideas as we navigate this new NPAA. Thank you.